All right, we're on March 10th. Let's do it. Find yourself a Cato.
Mm-hmm. Cato. Find yourself a Cato.
Cato? Sounds good. Cato is, I'm assuming, a leader. I think he's a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's good, but we'll find out. This is either a good or a bad leader, I think, is what Cato means.
I don't know what Cato means. So
we'll figure it out. Okay, it starts with Seneca. We can remove most sins if we have a witness standing by as we are about to go wrong. The soul should have someone it can respect, by whose example it can make its inner sanctum more inviolable. Happy is the person who can improve others, not only when present, but even when in their thoughts.
what do you have to say?
Can we go sentence by sentence?
Let's do it, yeah.
Okay. We can remove most sins if we have a witness standing by as we are about to go wrong. I think he's saying like having somebody wise around you, watching where you're going, can save you from some mistakes.
Sure. Having some mentor, maybe, perhaps.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The soul should have... So move it into next sentence. The soul should have someone it can respect, by whose example it can make its inner sanctum more inviolable. So someone to look up to. Like we should all have someone we can look up to. Inner sanctum, like I'm kind of translating this in my head to like your internal like weather or ecosystem. That should be strong. It should be inviolable. Like it shouldn't be like this easily swayed thing. And so if you have this mentor,
more grounded or something.
Yeah. So if you have a mentor or someone in your life who embodies this, that is now around you, you can learn how to be more like that.
Makes sense.
Happy is the person who can improve others, not only when present, but even when in their thoughts. Now I think he's talking about the mentor.
The mentor mentoring while they're not actually in the room anymore.
Yeah, right. And that like people want to get to the point where they are mentors because it feels good to help other people improve.
And you want to be mentored to a point where you can be doing it without the mentor being in the room as well, right? The one who wants to learn whatever craft, right? Like you want at some point the mentor to like you don't need the mentor anymore, right? Like that's you trying to achieve that, right? Like you can still be friends or whatever, but it's not like you understand now what they were mentoring you about.
Indeed.
Now I would be interested to kind of have a conversation about like how do you get a mentor and how do you approach a mentor, like like who these people could potentially be, but we can first read the Ryan's explanation.
Okay. So Ryan says, Cato the Younger, a Roman politician best known for his self-discipline and for his heroic defense of the Republic against Julius Caesar, appears constantly throughout Stoic literature, which is interesting because he didn't write anything down. He taught no classes, he gave no interviews. His bold and brave example is what made him such a commonly cited and quoted philosopher. Seneca tells us that we should each have our own Cato, a great and noble person we can allow into our minds and use to guide our actions, even when they're not physically present. The economist Adam Smith had a similar concept, which he called the indifferent spectator. It doesn't have to be an actual person, just someone who, like Seneca said, can stand witness to our behavior. Someone who can quietly admonish us if we are considering doing something lazy, dishonest, or selfish. And if we do it right and live our lives in such a way, perhaps we can serve as someone else's Cato or indifferent spectator when they need it.
Perfect. That kind of explained of how to find your mentors. AKA mentors are really, you find them in books, and it's essentially your teachers. You choose. You don't necessarily have to have them present in your life. Like, you don't have to have them mentoring you one-on-one like this, but they can mentor you through books or through videos or through different teachings, and then you have them in your mind while you're going through your life, and you're like, oh, hey, what did Wayne Dyer say? Okay, I gotta, the way I look at things will look or something, right? Yeah.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, I think is the quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea of them standing watch over your behavior, which I hadn't quite put those pieces together before, because there's many great noble people that I hold at this level internally as sort of like lighthouses of like, hey, you will light the path, like you will show me the way in some regard, and I trust some people in particular domains, and they help me certainly modify my behavior, but I haven't sort of like thought about it in this specific way of them watching over this to sort of see if you're acting in accordance with how you want to be living.
Yeah.
I don't know if what I said made sense. That was a hard thought to put together.
Yeah, it speaks. I mean, it just needs to speak to you in some way, and so as long as it makes sense inside of you, you know what I mean. That's more important, than like it making sense for anyone else,
Yeah, I don't know if it is making sense in me.
Sure.
I was just trying an idea on.
Yeah, and then or it doesn't. Yeah. But what were you saying? What were you trying to say? Like, what was the thing that you found? Because you're like, I found something.
Just the idea of like
new or something.
Taking your teacher's wisdom and filtering your behavior through that wisdom.
Yeah, it seems like obvious thing to do, but it's probably not at all how we do it. Yeah. Or we might be doing it, but we're just not consciously maybe realizing that we're doing it or something. So it's interesting to realize that it could be almost like a conscious decision to filter myself through my teachers or my mentors, the way my mentors and teachers think.
Yeah. I think some of it is already happening. Like, I think like we are acquiring knowledge and wisdom from these great noble people. Like, the people are the messengers, but it's really like the wisdom that we're after. And that's like a separate task from like optimizing our behavior. Like, you can have the wisdom and not have the behavior optimized. And so now it's like you're really smart, but like your life is still a mess. And so I guess I appreciated the bridging between that, because that's really where the rubber meets the road in any of this stuff. It's like, what good does philosophy do if like every morning you still wake up not wanting to get out of bed?
Yeah.
So
like it has to be incorporated in your life.
Yeah. So I think I just appreciated like his take on that, or like this particular spin on that idea, which is of course an age-old idea, and something we're already, every person who's striving to be better is doing this all the time. They're trying to be as careful as they can be in their behavior and their life, really. It's just more is needed.
More is needed, and also like a deeper approach is needed, not just like reading the quote. Let's say this is what we're doing, right? Like we're not just reading the quote and being like, okay, that's the quote, I guess this is what it means, okay, let's move on, right? Like, no, let's go deeper into it, and how can I apply this in my life, right? And now I already see how I'm already applying some of this by reading these books, by doing, watching podcasts, these types of, being interested in the teachers that are teaching. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm doing some of it. I already have it. Can I do more? Yes, I can. But I'm constantly trying to find new teachers or something like that, right? So it's like, okay, cool. Like there is action item is like, how can I do this? If I'm not doing any of it, then let's start. And if I'm already doing some of it, maybe I can do a little more. Don't stop. Okay. Yeah. This is great. I think this is the whole reason why we're doing this, because this creates the accountability too, for us to actually go deeper, and for us to be in this like, wait, I don't get it. What is this? Right? Like just being in that place. I think that's really valuable.
Yeah. And if you are watching this at home or wherever you are, we were talking, Ollie and I were talking the other day. This is weird. I'm sorry. Like we just started doing this, so it's. I'm not totally comfortable with the camera, and this whole like this doesn't. It doesn't just feel like we're having a normal time with each other. And Stas and I were talking about this earlier today. She was like, every podcast we have it's like normal. We press record and everybody's like, ugh. So I just think that's funny. But for you at home, Ollie and I were talking the other day about why we started this and why it's feeling good so far, because it is feeling good so far. And we kind of came to the conclusion that it's like this accountability thing. It's like showing up every day, and then now we put the camera on. So now we are forcing ourselves to go through the exercise of understanding this, because we've been doing this all year and we just started filming in March. So that means we've had 2 months of almost every day, but not every day, almost every day reading this. And there have been some days that we've just sort of didn't do it, but like I'm saying, like we read it, but we didn't fully digest it. Like we didn't stop to be like, what? So the ones that we read, we kind of like, oh, like how was that? Like, oh yeah, that was great. Moving on, right? Like you don't go deeper into it, and so like going in deeper into it is one thing, but also like doing the accountability is like showing up and being here and doing this recording, and then being on the camera and being uncomfortable, like watching yourself and hearing yourself afterwards, just going through this whole gooey, uncomfortable kind of a process. But like we're here, we are, somehow we're doing it. So we're just gonna, it's like a discipline thing. Like, hey, maybe I'm a little nervous today. Doesn't matter, because I said let's go do every day
this thing for 366 days. So day number 10, here we are. Bye, take care.